Poe has his psychological horror. Kafka has his social horror. H.P. Lovecraft, he directs his horror to the individual and has his cosmic horror. Hi, I'm Annie, and this is more or less the way Milan Helsing looks at the way the horror genre has evolved over time. Helsing wrote a short H.P. Lovecraft biography in Erik Kriek's graphic novel H.P. Lovecraft From Beyond and Other Tales. And because it is Thursday, you must know it is Eurocomic Thursday, and every Thursday I talk about European comic and graphic novel. But it is also Horror Mayhem. So this is also a really good reason to talk about a horror graphic novel. So, in this short story collection, there are the following H.P. Lovecraft stories: The Outsider, The Color Out of Space, Dagon, The Shadow over Innsmouth, and From Beyond. As these are short stories, I won't go much into detail in what the stories are about, but they are about people dealing with or trying to deal with things that are beyond their comprehension. When reading Lovecraft's original stories, I've noticed the vivid descriptions, which I like very, very much. Take, for example, The Outsider. This story relies on the description of the narrator, or the descriptions the narrator gives us as a reader. And this is a story about alienation and feelings of isolation. Some people say that Lovecraft felt like this at times. I have no idea if this is true, though. I think Kriek did an excellent job at adapting this story, considering that he had to give some of the things of the plot away in his illustration. He did a good job at keeping things concealed until the end of the story. Personally, I found The Color Out of Space less interesting, although I find the subject of the story extremely interesting. The story is about a meteorite that crashes on Earth and has a strong influence on the people who live in the neighborhood. I found the story a bit too slow-paced. There isn't very much action going on, and I didn't find the characters very interesting, I must admit. But as color plays an important part in this story, I was interested in how Erik Kriek would adapt this story into a graphic novel, and how he would depict this color, as it is a black and a white graphic novel. But the color is of an undescribable color. Nobody has ever seen this color. So what better way than to show this color in black and white? And I think he did an excellent job at making this story not only more dynamic, but also showing this color. Here you can see the color in action, and you can see the story is very dynamically depicted. I also think that Kriek did a good job at making this story shorter, which made the pace more faster paced. Then there is Dagon, and this is about a sailor who ends up on an uncharted island and has an encounter with an ancient Philistine god. I like this story very, very much. It had a lot of suspense in it. And there hangs a constant threat in the air, the looming of unseen danger. This made it that I didn't mind the slow pacing. Lovecraft wrote the Dagon in 1917, and this was when the First World War was fought over in Europe, or mainly in Europe. And I don't think Lovecraft served in the army, but this could have been an influence on Lovecraft, as he wrote about the insignificance of the humans. And the First World War was just, if there was a time in history where the regular Joe was insignificant on the planet and was a cannon fodder, you could say, then it was the First World War. Now, I think Kriek made a faithful adaptation of this, so I liked it very much. I found From Beyond an excellent story about a mad scientist who has developed a machine which allows people to perceive a hidden dimension of reality. The story was written in 1920s, or in the 1920s somewhere, if I remember correctly, a time where there were a lot of things going on that could have been an influence on Lovecraft, like for example Freud's theories about the unconscious mind and technologies like the radio, like in radio waves. Not that this story has the actual radio waves in it, but the thing that they discovered things that could not be seen, but that were there, like radio waves. And I think Kriek made some terrific illustrations of this machine in action, as you can see here. This is really, you can see he makes these stories a lot more dynamic than Lovecraft wrote them. Then we have to talk about the shadow over Innsmouth. I liked the plot of this story extremely well. I liked it tremendously. It was just excellent. The story is about a young man who goes sightseeing in Innsmouth. Why? Well, because everybody says he shouldn't, and nobody likes the people in Innsmouth. So what a better way than to find out more about these mysterious people in Innsmouth and why they are so strange. This is a strange story with some parts slow-paced, but also parts in it that are faster-paced and are really suspenseful. I liked the faster-paced parts extremely well. I thought they were just excellent. But I must admit that this made it harder for me to rate this story, not only as I liked the faster parts of this story, but not so much the slower parts of the story. But I really had a problem with 2 chapters in the story. And these are 2 chapters where somebody is talking and explaining and talking, which is really a static way of telling a story. But he is not only drunk, he has an accent. Not that I mind people with accents, I have an accent myself, but this was phonetically written. So it was really hard for me to decipher what he was talking about. And I think most people nowadays would just skim through these 2 chapters and not bother deciphering all of it, like I did. And I found that these 2 chapters could have easily be shortened into 1 chapter. But there is also something else that is very interesting about this story, and now I have to give a spoiler warning. As I'm always told, Lovecraft was a bit of a racist. A lot of a racist, I am told. And, but this story is about xenophobia. And nobody likes these people that live in Innsmouth because the way they look different, they look strange. And as the story goes along, we as the reader discover why these people look the way they do and why they are just strange. But in the end of the story, our hero turns up and discovers about himself that he is one of these strange people, that he is one of the same people who live in Innsmouth. So why, if Lovecraft was such a xenophobic person, why would he write a hero who turns out to be different? Well, you have to think about it. Well, if you have an answer, I'd like to know. But this all could have been a coincidence. But I'm really curious how this adds up. Not that I deny that Lovecraft was a xenophobic person, but I think there's more to it than meets the eye. I think there is absolutely more depth into this than not everything is black and white. I find, coming back to the graphic novel version Erik Kriek made of this story, I found that he did an excellent job at adapting this story. He made the pacing faster by cutting some of the story elements out of it, not the story elements, but like the drunken man who explains things. These are those 2 chapters are really, really more compact, and they are shortened. So I thought that was just excellent, and this made it also that the story felt to me to have more punch to it. So all in all, I think Erik Kriek did an excellent job at adapting all of these H.P. Lovecraft stories. I think he just did an excellent job. Okay, Thanks for sticking around till the end. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next video. As always, thanks for watching.